Caitlin Clark and Stephen Curry, the least shocking, somewhat, what seems like it's going to be a collaboration in history. If we're being completely honest, the least shocking one we have ever seen, because this is Caitlin effing Clark we're talking about. This is Caitlin Clark. This is somebody who we know has been compared to Stephen Curry. I don't see the comparisons really. I think Caitlin Clark is closer to Tyrese Halliburton than she's to Stephen.
Watch that energy. That's not just excitement about a shoe collaboration. That's someone who knows something bigger is coming. Because when Steph Curry posts himself shooting from the logo in Caitlin Clark's signature Nikes, and both his trainer and Caitlin herself immediately repost it, this isn't random. This is coordinated. And the implications for both the WNBA and the Curry brand launch at Nike could reshape how we think about basketball marketing entirely.
You've got Caitlin Clark, who is someone who's known for her range. Steph Curry is obviously known for his range as well. But you've now got Steph Curry shooting from the logo in Caitlin Clark shoes. And that's like the first thing where it's like, yeah, you know, from the logo. I will say this, where it's like, it is mad that the logo 3 is now considered Caitlin range. Like, we obviously had Curry range. More so than anything, we had Jimmer range.
Here's the context everyone's missing. Caitlin Clark signed with Nike back when she was still at Iowa. At the time, it was the richest shoe deal in WNBA history, but that was before the Caitlin Clark effect hit the league. Before she drove the Indiana Fever from bottom-tier attendance to selling out arenas. Before her rookie season generated viewership numbers that tripled the previous year's playoffs, she locked into that contract early, which means she's watching players who came into the league after her negotiate deals worth potentially double what she's making. That's the reality of being first. You take the risk, you don't always get the reward, but now Steph Curry is wearing her shoes, and that changes the equation completely.
It's weird because everyone was talking about Jimmer being the next Steph, but like Steph wasn't Steph when Jimmer was Jimmer. Like I genuinely think there's an argument to be made that Jimmer Fredette was almost Steph before Steph, because Steph was still like when Jimmer was doing all his shit, Steph was a year 2 guy with bad ankles. Like, we can't forget that, like, he was literally a year 2 guy with bad ankles. That was what Steph Curry was at the time. Either way though, I'm going off point.
Let's talk about what Jimmer Fredette actually represented, because this comparison matters. Back in 2011, Jimmer was doing things at BYU that felt ahead of the NBA's evolution. Deep threes, unlimited range, the kind of shot selection that would have been called reckless 5 years earlier. And here's the thing, Steph Curry was in year 2 at that point, dealing with chronic ankle injuries that had the Warriors genuinely worried they drafted damaged goods. Jimmer's college dominance happened before Steph became Steph, before the back-to-back MVPs, before the 73-win season, before he changed how basketball is played at every level. So when people compare Caitlin to Steph based purely on range, they're missing the actual parallel. Caitlin's not just a shooter. She averaged 8.4 assists per game as a rookie. She's a floor general who happens to have unlimited range. That's not Steph. That's Magic Johnson with a three-point shot. That's Tyrese Halliburton with deeper range and bigger cultural impact.
It won't show up. You know what? Actually, screw it. Maybe Caitlin Clark does show up at the NBA All-Star Weekend, because everything what Caitlin Clark has done is, oh, I want my first one to be at the WNBA. I want to do this. I want to do this to help the WNBA. I want to do this, and this to help the WNBA. If there might not be a WNBA, she might as well just show up at the NBA All-Star Weekend for the three-point contest. She might as well. It's only a month away. But like she just may as well. But it is a really interesting one to see what is going on when it comes to Steph Curry and Caitlin Clark, because this is the most obvious kind of collab ever. And it's a weird one where it's like...
Now, here's where this gets strategically interesting. Steph Curry left Under Armour and signed with Nike in late 2023. But he didn't just sign as an athlete. He brought the Curry brand with him as a subsidiary label under the Nike umbrella, similar to how Jordan Brand operates. The problem? Steph's 37 years old. He's got maybe 2 seasons left, possibly 3 if his body holds up. That's not enough time to build and establish a signature shoe line from scratch at Nike, but Caitlin Clark already has one. The Nike Sabrina 2 Cephs that she's been wearing became the most worn basketball shoe in the NBA during the 2024 season. Not just among guards, among all players. NBA players were actively choosing to wear a WNBA player's signature shoe because the design works. The performance is there. The aesthetic resonates. So if you're Nike and you're trying to launch Curry brand without waiting 3 years for design and production cycles, what's your move? You already have the infrastructure. You already have the shoe. You already have the cultural momentum around Caitlin Clark. You just need to bridge the connection.
Playing custom Curry brand Caitlin shoes. And we're going to sell the custom Curry brand Caitlin, and the next year Steph's going to, in his final year, get his one signature shoe with Nike. And we're going to go and push that. Like, something like that could be happening. And that would make sense from a Nike perspective, because they already have the Caitlin shoes. It's seamless. As much as we say it's seamless from it's seamless with, it would have been seamless, with Caitlin going to Curry brand. It's also seamless with Curry going to Caitlin's if Caitlin's shoe is there. If he's going to play in a shoe and have a Curry brand.
This is the reality that every WNBA pioneer faces. Tiffany Hayes is the perfect example. She was a legitimate star for the Atlanta Dream. Multiple All-Star appearances, one of the best two-way guards in the league during her prime. She retired in 2023 after 11 seasons. Then the Caitlin Clark effect hit, the new CBA brought massive salary increases, and suddenly Tiffany came out of retirement to play for the Las Vegas Aces in 2024. In that one season after returning, she probably made close to what she earned in 3 or 4 seasons during her prime. Maybe more. The new minimum salary for veterans is over $200,000. The max contracts are pushing 7 figures. That's the gap we're talking about. Players who built this league, who played through the years when arenas were half empty and road games meant flying commercial, they're watching rookies make more in year 1 than they made in their entire careers. That's not Caitlin's fault. That's not the new generation's fault. That's just the brutal math of being early to something before it becomes valuable.
Get it out and stick with it while things are going well, you're going to get paid. However, if you're not going to stick with it, then you're going to be screwed. Like any of the WNBA, like Tiffany Hayes is the best example. She was superstar in the WNBA, retired in 2023, and she then decided to come out of retirement to play for the Aces. And I can guarantee you, she will make probably twice as much money from 2024 from after retirement as she made in her entire career before retirement, in like 3 years after retirement. She's probably going to get paid $1 million to play.
Pay attention to how calculated this rollout is. Steph's trainer, Brandon Payne, doesn't post casually. Everything that goes on his social media is strategic, because he's not just training Steph Curry. He's building the Curry brand identity. When he posts Steph shooting from the logo in Caitlin's shoes, he's not sharing a cool workout clip. He's testing audience reaction. He's seeing how the basketball community responds to the visual of Steph in those Nikes and Caitlin's repost. That's confirmation. That's her co-signing the connection. She could have ignored it. She could have liked it privately. Instead, she amplified it to her 5 million Instagram followers. That's a business decision. That's someone who understands that aligning with Steph Curry, even indirectly through footwear, elevates her brand beyond just the WNBA space. Because here's what's really happening. The WNBA is in the middle of a potential work stoppage. The CBA negotiations are contentious. There's a real possibility we don't have a 2026 season if the players and league can't agree on revenue sharing. Caitlin's been adamant about keeping her first three-point contest appearance in the WNBA, not doing the NBA All-Star Weekend. But if there's no WNBA season, if the league goes dark for a year during labor negotiations, then what's the harm in showing up to NBA All-Star Weekend in February and participating in the three-point contest there? The timing of this Curry connection isn't accidental, it's insurance.
I don't know, with the way his trainer was posting about it, with the way Caitlin herself was reposting it out of nowhere, it's very rare Caitlin Clark posts something that is to do with basketball for no reason. For no reason. Because at the end of the day, if she posts something nothing to do with basketball or tweets, it's probably just something she has in her head. However, most of the time she's there posting on Instagram stories, and it's not like a teammate. It's for a reason. But anyway, see.
Here's what makes this significant, beyond just a shoe collaboration. Caitlin Clark has been extraordinarily protective of the WNBA's brand. Every decision she's made publicly has been framed around growing the league, not just her personal profile. She turned down opportunities to appear on NBA broadcasts during the WNBA season. She's repeatedly said she wants her milestones to happen in WNBA spaces, not as a novelty act at NBA events, but Steph Curry wearing her shoes changes the dynamic. It's not Caitlin crossing over into NBA spaces, it's an NBA legend validating her product in his space. That's a completely different narrative. That's Steph saying these shoes are good enough for an NBA game. That's him telling his audience that Caitlin Clark's signature line isn't just for women's basketball, it's for basketball, period. And if this leads to a Curry brand collaboration, where they co-design a shoe, where Steph plays his final season in a Curry brand version of Caitlin's signature line, that's not Caitlin leaving the WNBA. That's Caitlin bringing WNBA credibility into the NBA's biggest marketing machine. Think about the position this puts Caitlin in. She's 23 years old, locked into a shoe deal that probably pays her a fraction of what she could command today. But instead of publicly complaining about it, instead of demanding a renegotiation, she's building relationships that will pay off when that contract expires. Steph Curry wearing her shoes today means when her Nike deal comes up for renewal, she's not negotiating as just a WNBA star, she's negotiating as someone whose design aesthetic has been validated by a two-time MVP and four-time NBA champion. That's playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers. And here's the thing about beat reporters and media coverage that applies here: once you establish yourself as someone who makes strategic moves, every action gets analyzed for deeper meaning. Caitlin Clark doesn't post randomly. She doesn't engage with content unless there's a purpose. So when she reposts Steph in her shoes, and his trainer is amplifying it, and the timing coincides with Curry brand's launch at Nike, you have to ask what the endgame is. The most likely scenario, we see a Curry brand x Caitlin Clark limited edition release sometime in spring 2025. Steph wears them for a game, maybe two. They sell out instantly because you've got both fan bases competing for limited inventory. That proves the market exists. Then when Steph retires after the 2026 or 2027 season, Curry brand doesn't disappear. It transitions into a co-branded line with the biggest active star in basketball, who happens to be a woman. That's the succession plan Nike needs. Because Jordan brand worked because Michael left at his peak, and the mystique never faded. Curry brand can't do that. Steph's not leaving at his peak, he's declining, gracefully, but declining nonetheless, so you need someone to carry the brand forward, who has the cultural impact and the game to back it up. Caitlin Clark is that person. In this Instagram post, this seemingly casual workout clip is the first public step in a multi-year strategy to make that transition feel organic. Now compare that to how she treats other brand partnerships. She's selective. She's not doing random endorsements. Everything connects back to basketball or to growing women's sports. This Curry connection does both. It elevates her basketball credibility by association, and it creates a pathway for women's basketball to be integrated into mainstream NBA marketing in a way that doesn't feel forced or tokenized. The contrast reveals something important about how Caitlin thinks about her career long-term. She's not chasing quick money, she's building infrastructure. She's creating relationships that will matter in 5 years, in 10 years, when she's not just the face of the WNBA, but potentially one of the most influential figures in basketball business, period. Steph Curry had to know this was coming. He's been vocal about supporting women's basketball. He's invested in women's sports properties. His daughters play basketball. This isn't just a business move for him, it's ideological. But it's also smart business, because Caitlin Clark's audience is younger, more female, more engaged on social media than the typical NBA demographic. Curry brand needs that audience if it's going to survive beyond Steph's playing career. What makes this particularly awkward for Nike's competitors is that they had chances to sign Caitlin. Adidas could have made a play. Puma's been aggressive in women's basketball. Under Armour, where Steph spent his prime years, could have tried to package them together, but Nike moved early, locked her up before the price skyrocketed, and now they're reaping the benefits of that foresight. This dynamic is going to continue. We're going to see more NBA players wearing WNBA signature shoes. We're going to see more crossover marketing, and it's going to be driven by the fact that the WNBA's new generation of stars has cultural cash that transcends their league in ways that previous generations didn't. So the question becomes, was Caitlin signing that Nike deal early, potentially leaving money on the table, actually the smartest move she could have made? Because it put her inside the biggest sports marketing machine in the world, at exactly the moment they needed a women's basketball star to build around. And now she's got Steph Curry wearing her shoes, validating her brand, creating a connection that will pay dividends for the next decade. What do you think? Is this just a cool collaboration, or are we watching the beginning of something that changes how basketball marketing works? Drop your take in the comments, and if you want more breakdowns of the business side of the WNBA, hit that subscribe button, because we're just getting started.